One Star Trek. Voyager character took 10 years to get home, not 7 of 9. When fans think of long journeys home in Star Trek, Voyager, the conversation usually begins and ends with Captain Catherine Janeway's desperate mission to shave years off her crew's return to Earth. The show itself dramatized the difference between a 70-year voyage and the hope of getting back within a single lifetime. Later, 7 of Nine's assimilation and recovery became another story of what coming home could mean in a metaphorical sense. But there's one Voyager character whose story of getting home wasn't measured in light years, slipstream technology, or Borg transwarp corridors. Instead, it was measured in time after the final credits rolled. Unlike the rest of the crew who finally set foot on Earth in the series finale Endgame, one crew member didn't truly make it home until 10 years later, and his story is every bit as poignant as Janeway's. That character is none other than Ensign Harry Kim. Harry Kim, Voyager's most unlucky officer. Harry Kim began his service aboard Voyager as the ship's greenest bridge officer, an ensign fresh out of Starfleet Academy. By the time the show ended, 7 years later, he was still an ensign, one of the franchise's most famous running gags. Despite his unwavering loyalty, technical brilliance, and bravery in countless crises, Kim never received the promotion he desperately hoped for. Within the Delta Quadrant, Harry embodied the dream of getting home. He was young, barely into adulthood when Voyager was thrown 70,000 light-years from Federation space. Unlike Tom Paris, who had a checkered past, or Chakotay, who had once left Starfleet to join the Maquis, Harry represented someone who had everything to lose: a bright career, close family ties on Earth, and a life just beginning. Every year trapped in the Delta Quadrant felt like stolen time for him. When Voyager finally barreled through the Borg transwarp conduit and emerged in Earth's orbit in Endgame, audiences saw Harry cheer and stand at his station with relief. But for the character, his true homecoming didn't really happen in that moment. It would take another 10 years for the franchise itself to give him closure. Voyager's finale left Kim in limbo. Unlike Janeway, Tuvok, or Paris and Torres, Harry didn't get a real epilogue in Voyager's finale. We learned nothing about his reunion with his parents, how his career advanced, or whether his years in the Delta Quadrant made him into something greater than a lifelong ensign. Instead, the show doubled down on its recurring joke. In one of the finale's time travel sequences, Admiral Janeway visited an alternate future where Harry Kim had eventually been promoted to captain. She even teased him about how long it took. That moment felt bittersweet. It reassured audiences that Harry could reach the captain's chair, but it was erased by the end of the episode when Janeway reset the timeline. The young ensign who had been stuck in stasis for 7 seasons now found himself stuck in stasis in canon itself. Voyager's end left Harry standing on the bridge of the ship he had served so faithfully, still waiting for the real homecoming that would allow him to grow. A decade later, Star Trek Online gives Harry Kim his due. That homecoming finally arrived in 2014, 10 years after Voyager ended, when the massively multiplayer game in Star Trek Online brought Garrett Wang back to reprise his role. The game's Delta Rising expansion revealed that Harry Kim had, at long last, been promoted to captain and was commanding the USS Rhode Island. For fans, it was a vindication. Harry's journey had always been about becoming the officer he was destined to be, someone who could step into leadership without being overlooked or taken for granted. His captaincy in Star Trek Online was more than just a rank on his collar. It was the narrative resolution Voyager never gave him. 10 years after the series finale, Harry Kim finally got to go home, not just to Earth, but to the idea of himself he had been chasing since his first day aboard Voyager. Why Harry's story resonates more than ever? Harry Kim's delayed homecoming resonates for several reasons. 1. He was the eternal ensign. Viewers saw him struggle, grow, and sacrifice without the career recognition he deserved. His story became a mirror for anyone who has felt stuck despite giving their all. When he finally achieved the captaincy in Star Trek Online, it felt like a victory not only for him but for fans who had been rooting for him for years. 2. He symbolizes persistence. Unlike characters with flashy arcs, Seven's reclamation of humanity, Janeway's obsession with getting home, the Doctor's evolution into individuality, Harry's arc was understated. He simply kept showing up, doing the work, and holding on to his humanity. His delayed reward felt authentic to that persistence. 3. He represents the long road home. For the rest of the Voyager crew, the Delta Quadrant journey ended with the finale. But for Harry, it wasn't about warp speed or transwarp conduits, it was about time. His journey required patience across real-world years, making his story unique among Voyager's characters. Thematic power of a delayed homecoming. Star Trek has always been about the idea of journeys into space, into morality, into ourselves. Voyager dramatized that theme by making the long way home literal. But Harry Kim's story shows us something subtler. Sometimes the journey home doesn't end when the ship lands. It ends when you finally arrive at the person you were meant to be. For Harry, that meant standing tall as a captain in his own right. And because that didn't happen until a decade after Voyager's finale, his story underlines a deeper truth about Star Trek, that the voyages of its characters can outlast the shows themselves, unfolding over years of expanded media and fan engagement. In that sense, Harry's long homecoming might actually be one of the most Star Trek narratives of all, patient, hopeful, and eventually triumphant. A counterpoint, was his homecoming bittersweet? Not every fan was satisfied with Harry's belated promotion. Some argued that by relegating his true homecoming to a video game rather than a canonical series, the franchise effectively shortchanged him again. After all, Janeway and Seven have continued to appear in Star Trek, Prodigy, while Harry has been absent from modern television. Still, for many fans, Star Trek Online's expansion carried enough weight to count. The performance was genuine, the role significant, and the themes authentic to his character. It wasn't just fan service, it was closure. What Harry Kim's story teaches us about Voyager. Harry Kim's 10-year road home reframes Voyager in hindsight. While the series positioned Janeway as the linchpin of the crew's survival and Seven as the show's breakout character, Harry became its quiet moral compass. His simple yearning for home humanized the stakes of the entire show. When Voyager reached Earth in Endgame, the journey was over for most of the crew. But Harry's real-life delay shows that sometimes the quietest characters can carry the longest arcs, extending beyond the screen and rewarding patience in ways no one expected. Could Harry Kim return again? With the Star Trek franchise thriving on streaming and legacy actors reprising roles, Harry Kim's story may not be finished. Actor Garrett Wang has often expressed interest in returning, and many fans want to see him on screen as Captain Kim. If he did return, it would mark a full-circle moment. The character who once represented youthful inexperience would now embody veteran wisdom. And just like his 10-year journey home, it would remind fans that sometimes the best payoffs are the ones that take the longest to arrive. Conclusion: 10 years later, Harry made it, while Voyager itself took only 7 seasons to bring its crew back to Earth.